Yo, Shalom, what's going on? This is none other than William Brown, also known as Dr. William Brown, also known as the Bishop of Boom Church, also as the Apostle of Believers of One Messiah. And I'm coming to you just to holler at you because I think it's something that needs to be talked about that is not being talked about, that is very important, okay? And no, I'm not talking about this.
In a major blow to the Biden administration, the Supreme Court blocked the president's student loan forgiveness program in a 6-3 decision. The plan would have wiped out more than $400 billion in student loan debt.
And no, I'm not even talking about this either.
We had the 303 Creative versus Ellenist decision effectively making LGBTQ plus individuals second-class citizens. Now, that same cynical perseverance has now led to the gutting of affirmative action in college admissions.
Well, what am I talking about? If I'm not talking about affirmative action, which seems like everybody, whether you Israelite or Christian, or whether you're just black in this country, African American, whatever you go by, if I'm not talking about that, and I'm not talking about the LGBTQ, YZ community conversation about, things going on with the Supreme Court. And no, if I'm not talking about the student loan forgiveness debt by Joe Biden is being rejected, well, what am I talking about? That is so important that I feel that is very important, probably the most important Supreme Court ruling of the past 50 years. Because it's been 50 years. Okay? Check this out.
And welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. Once again, taking a live look at the Supreme Court as we continue to talk about the rulings from this morning. The Supreme Court using the case of a Christian mailman who didn't want to work Sundays to solidify protections for workers who asked for religious accommodations. In a unanimous decision, the justices made clear that workers who ask for accommodations like taking the Sabbath off should get them unless their employers show doing so would result in, quote, substantial increased cost to the business. Andrew Lieb is a legal analyst, a friend of the show with Lieb at Law, and joins us now live to talk more about all of this. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Josh, thanks for having me. What an important decision that's going to change workers throughout the United States today. I can't underestimate how important this decision is.
And kind of break it down for me. Why is this something that so many people are paying attention to, talking about, and what does it mean for workers in the U.S.?
Well, I'm going to do it two ways. I'll tell you legally, and then I'll tell you effectively how it's going to affect everyone. Legally, we have a decision from 50 years ago that explained how you're supposed to do employment law, like how employment law, it's called Title VII. You might have heard of it, the EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, how you need to deal with an employee that wants an accommodation. What is an accommodation? A change of a policy, a procedure of the job. And usually we hear about it when it comes to either disability or handicap or religion. So in this situation, this evangelical Christian said, hey, listen, I think the Sabbath is a day of rest. I shouldn't have to go deliver mail everywhere. That's the Sabbath. On Sunday, I don't need to do that. And the lower court, the district court, they said, you got no case. 50-year-ago precedent, it says, as long as the employer can show more than a de minimis cost, they can deny you. This changes it. Employees have so much more rights today. In effect, what we learn, a 9-0 decision by Alito, Josh, here's what it says. Now, if you are a religious person and you ask for an accommodation, it's a holiday that's not recognized by your employer. It's the Sabbath. You need to wear a different outfit. You need to have a different head covering. Your employer needs to give that to you, except if it's going to be a substantial hardship, which is going to be a fact-determinative decision. And no longer can they say, oh, it's just going to be a little cost de minimis. It changes everything. Employees have so many more rights today than they did earlier this morning at 10 o'clock when this came out. The world of employee rights changed, Josh. This is a huge decision.
And do you think this is the decision that folks were expecting? A lot of people are talking about the cases with affirmative action. You're also hearing about President Biden's student loan payment plan that is still yet to be decided here. This is one that it seems that not a lot of people were paying as close attention to. Do you think this is what people expected was going to happen?
Well, of the three cases you just named, affirmative action, student loan, and this one's going to have the most impact on regular people's jobs. I can tell you that without a shadow of a doubt. The only way you can deny them, Josh, is if you say, we just substantially can't afford this. We're no longer with a de minimis standard. Employers better speak to employment counsel today, change the rules, and we're going to have a floods of lawsuits coming in.
And these decisions are fairly immediate, right? This would happen as of the time that the ruling came out.
Yeah, I would say it's like 10:07 it came out. I don't know the exact time. It's immediately changed the law across the United States. A broad law. It changed this case from, I said it was 50 years ago, an EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. They're supposed to advocate for employees. If you go on their website, they would say if an employer could deny you with a de minimis standard. And today, employees have so many more rights and immediately changed. And if someone comes to a boss today and says, listen, I know that you don't celebrate, I don't know, let's say Rosh Hashanah. You're not closed for Rosh Hashanah. I'm Jewish. I'd like to change the date. If the employer does not change the date, you have an employment discrimination of the date that person has to work, and that's going to be actionable discrimination. You have that for every religion. You think about people that are Muslim, Buddhist, Jain. You're, as an employer, better be up to speed about all of these religions. And by the way, here's the most interesting part about religious discrimination. It doesn't even have to be one of the goals or rules or protocols of the religion, so long as it's a sincerely held belief by the individual, even if it's strays with the teaching of the Pope and you're Catholic, it's still a religious accommodation you are entitled to, and you can get it. This is huge, Josh.
Well, you see what I'm talking about? This is a game changer, as they said in the video. Why is that? Because most of us who honor the Shabbat, most of us who identify as Black Jews, most of us who identify as Israelites, most of us identified as Messianic, or even in the Jewish community in that conversation, in sense, is that most of us have been having this issue of Shabbat on our job of employment. Most of us been having this issue on our job when it comes to feast days and all these other things that's been seem to be a headache. All right, seem to be a headache to us as well as to our employer. Well, now guess what? Because a white Christian man, or a Christian man, however you want to view it, he's still a Christian, decided that his Sunday Shabbat was more important than going to sort mail or delivering mail. And he decided to go to the local courts. And then not only that, the local courts wouldn't do anything about it. He decided to advance it towards the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled that companies have to change the way that they do business in order to accommodate those of us who want to honor our religious days. This even goes for Muslims as well. This is a game changer. I think this is very important. It is not being talked about. I've scoured the internet, even throughout the Israelite community, to see if there's any form of conversation being had about it. Nope, no conversation being had about it. I've scoured through the internet looking for even the Christian community. Nope, there's no conversation about it within the Christian community. But it's very important for us to understand that many who believe that this is spiritual Babylon, or many who believe that this nation is wicked to the core, it does us right to make sure that we keep up with even the things that's going on in the lands in which you live. If the Bible talks about us honoring the laws of the land, surely we should also know what's going on in that land as well. So that way we can be educated to understand. Yes, we look at the Bible, we look at prophecies and all these other things, but those of you who know me, and know those that are part of our congregation know that I'm always preaching, talking, and educating about practical and spiritual. Being practical in understanding things and applying the practical application where it needs to be so it does not violate the spiritual principle, But also at the same time is that we can take these things of education. That's why I'm a firm believer in not being against against higher education or any form of institution of education, because I believe that it's very important for us not only to know our Bible and be theologically sound, but also to know secular views, secular perspectives, to be able to understand these things and be able to raise up a generation and raise up a group of people that can be educated, not only to know how to deal with things spiritually, but educated to deal with things practically and applying it properly in the proper perspective. Okay. Thank you guys, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like it, share it. All right. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll be coming with more videos. All right. Shalom, 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 and salama, and grace, peace, and many blessings to everyone. Peace.